Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Gemstone collection by Cupcake Polish. This is available right now. I'll link it down below. This is a new part of the core collection, so these will be available for a while. They will retail for $13 each, and this collection was sent to me for review, so I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So first up today is Garnet, and this is a no-brainer top pick for me. So this polish is described as a deep burgundy colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So I would say that these are in very gorgeously pigmented jelly bases. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Even with that first swipe, you can tell that these are going to be really easy to get completely opaque. So I did go in for a little bit of a thicker first coat here. That is definitely my preferred way to apply these. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry down and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. I did go in and fix that cuticle line really quickly, but two coats did bring this polish completely opaque for me. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that every polish in this collection was an easy two-coater for me. So there's a look at that second and final coat, and this is going to throw rainbows in absolutely all lighting. So here's a look at that completed mani at two coats with a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo, again under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Emerald, and this polish is described as a dark green colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So this, as the name implies, is a deep, gorgeous jewel toned green. So here's a look at that first easy coat. I did try to go in a little bit thinner here. I know some of you guys prefer to do thin coats. However, I did have a little bit of drippage down the stem that made for a perfect thick or one coat for me, and it did pretty much almost bring this one completely opaque. However, if you do prefer to go in super thin and you're careful with the drippage, you may need to go to a 3, but honestly I was really happy here with the finish at 2. So here's a look at my second and a final coat. It did completely and easily bring this polish opaque. These do dry down just slightly textured and maybe a little bit dull, so I do recommend going in with one coat of your favorite glossy top coat. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats with a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Blue Tourmaline, and this polish is described as a rich turquoise colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So this is a blue-green. It's right in the middle, very gorgeous teal. It reminds me of a deep summer pools, and I absolutely love it. So here's a quick look at that first easy coat. This one goes on just as easy as the others, a little bit sheer depending on how much you use and how much you build it up. So I'm going to go ahead, complete this coat, let it dry down, and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a look at my second and final coat of this polish. It did easily and perfectly bring this polish completely opaque. I do want to mention that I was swatching with a base coat, so I didn't have any staining at all with this collection, but it is something worth mentioning. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats plus a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle again in that artificial lighting. So next up is Sapphire, and this polish is described as a deep blue colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So the finish on this one is absolutely stunning. You get a ton of depth because of that jelly base and then so much of that scattered holographic glitter. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, I did try to go in a little bit thinner here. I know most of you guys do prefer those thin coats. I had no problem building this up even when using those coats. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a quick look at that second and a final coat. I did go in a little bit thicker here, but it did easily bring this polish completely opaque. Again, no issues at all. I know this is a super deep blue, but again, I didn't have any staining. I did have to clean up a little bit there with acetone and a cleanup brush. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats with a glossy top coat underneath that artificial lighting, and I could pretty much just stare at this polish all day. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath that artificial lighting. So next up is Amethyst, and this polish is described as a dark plum purple colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So this is just as stunning on the nails as it is in the bottle. I'll go ahead and show you what that looked like in my first easy coat. So this looks like a magical grape syrup. I know that's kind of a silly way to describe a polish, but that is exactly what it looked like to me. So one coat made for pretty nice coverage. I am going to go ahead, let this dry, and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a look at my second and again a final coat. It did bring this polish completely opaque. I didn't have any issues. These are pretty much just a dream to work with, especially if you love kind of almost squishy finishes and if you love all that holographic glitter. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats with a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle again in that same artificial lighting. So rounding out the collection today, I have Onyx, and this polish is described as a black colored full coverage hollow micro glitter polish. So you get all those gorgeous rainbows in that scattered holographic glitter on a black jelly base. So super gorgeous. This is, I think, another top pick for me. So here's a quick look at that first easy coat. This one went on like a dream, maybe a little bit sheer depending on how thick you prefer to do your polish. I did go in a little bit heavy-handed here. I think I had to wipe off my brush a little bit. So then I'm going to show you what it looks like with that second easy coat. It did completely bring this polish completely opaque to a dark true black finish. I almost got a little bit of a deep olive green vibe to the base here, but I loved it. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats with that glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting, and then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. So that wraps up my swatches today of the Gemstones collection. Again, these are available right now. I'll link them down below, so definitely hop on over and check them out. If you're interested, I do have more photos of all the polishes featured here today on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.